Now I'm fully into the bit. There's no going back. And there's no going back, Chris, with some of the things that I won't speak for you. Some of the things that I said about Kevin Huerter this past season. We've talked about Kevin Huerter so much, and he is such an important part of the Kings offense. And, for one reason or the other, Kevin Huerter was not who the Kings needed him to be this past season. And it's because of that when the darkest of the night comes before the dawn. It's because of that Kevin Huerter might just be that secret weapon to unlock and to keep this offense free flowing this upcoming season. We've talked about Keegan Murray. We know how important Keegan Murray is, but Kevin Huerter coming off a really, really tough season. And when you talk about the 3-point percentage, this was the worst 3-point percentage as far as shooting of his career. Okay. Only one other time he dropped down to 36%, and that was in 2021. Besides that, he's at 38. Last 2 seasons ago, he was at 40. So Kevin Huerter, Chris, as he has been you talk about Kevin Huerter. How many chips does one need on a shoulder? Okay. You have Kevin Huerter, who
I wouldn't put too much pressure on that shoulder.
Well, he's rehabbing. He's good.
We'll see.
Depends on the shoulder. On the good shoulder. The good shoulder. And it wasn't the shooting shoulder. So you have Kevin Huerter, who is coming off just a really rough season. You have Kevin Huerter, who had to deal with injury. You have Kevin Huerter, who even before the injury, he was in the trade talks with Harrison Barnes.
Sure.
And we all talk about once this stuff gets into these guys are human. And once this stuff gets out into the basketball world, the media, if you get moved, it's cool. Mm-hmm. If you don't get moved, now you have Monty McNair during the summer league talking about all the good things that Kevin Huerter does, and we had some fun with that conversation, whether or not he was helping to try to move Kevin Huerter or just, hey, this guy can really help. And I think the answer was both.
Yeah.
So you look at Kevin Huerter and what he can bring to a team. I have no clue, Chris, as we talk about the starting lineups, if he's going to be a starter, if he's going to come off the bench. But if he is able to get that shot back and just do what is asked of him, even if it is to come off the bench, this guy could be somebody that we're thinking, and really you, because I have to be convinced, right? But really, people like you have said, Kevin Huerter, you believed in him all season long. Kevin Huerter can He can really unlock this offense, because now you're looking around and there's nobody that you can't help. If DeMar DeRozan's cooking, you can't help off of De'Aaron. You can't help off of Keegan. And now you can't help off of Kevin Huerter. Or if you do, now he burns you. This could be the key, man. This could be the key, or one of the keys.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think Kevin is he's a dynamite shooter. I mean, that was the strangest thing about last year, is that we knew that he would have question marks across the board. His defense, his dribbling, his passing, all those things we knew were going to be problems. But the fact that the one thing that he was supposed to do very, very, very well, all of a sudden he couldn't do at all. And you can kind of see it just affect everything else. He tried to, supplement the shooting with, hey, maybe a little bit more aggression on the defensive end. It's just not his bag. If he's not hitting shots, he's not really being super helpful to the team. He's very replaceable, frankly, if he's not hitting his shots, because he doesn't really do anything else at an elite level. And, you can maybe say the same thing for Keon Ellis. If he's not stopping people, I don't know how effective he's going to be. So it's not just a Kevin Huerter specific thing, but yeah, when you see him struggle the way he did last year, it just brings up a lot of questions. And I will say, and did say, last year is the worst I could ever see Kevin Huerter playing, and we got through it. It wasn't good. It's not like the Kings thrived without him, but even if Kevin Huerter, he doesn't have to reach the levels that he had 2 years ago when you mentioned he shot 40% and had that great beam team season. It was a career year for him, 15 points a game. All of it was great, but he's got to be some version of that. Again, he doesn't have to be that guy, but he's always been a pretty streaky shooter. You look even in that beam team season, he would have months where he came out the first, I think, month and a half and shot 50% from three on like 6 or 7 attempts. He was on fire. And then he cools down. He goes like 33% for a month. I think the thing with him is just making sure that the lows don't go as low as what we've seen specifically last year. I think it's fine if he's not a 40% shooter every month, but don't be worse than 36. Definitely try to not be worse than a 35% three-point shooter, because this team needs it, especially now more than ever. You get rid of Harrison Barnes. We make a lot of jokes about Harrison Barnes on this show, but he was still one of the Kings shooters. And now it really is just Kevin Huerter. It's Keegan Murray. And besides that, you really can't say that there is just a straight up knockdown shooter on this team. Of course, Malik has the capability to hit threes, but he's been under 36%, honestly, for most of his Kings career. I think it's really, really important for Kevin to space the floor, especially like you said, with DeRozan out there. He's going to need to be the Kings floor spacer when they have, frankly, at least two non-spacers on the floor at pretty much all times, at least.
Yeah, and look, that's the thing, man. I know it's an overused term, but pressure either busts pipes or makes diamonds, and this is. It's money time for Kevin Huerter. It's money time. I know he's only 25, 26 years old,
which is crazy.
But everyone is still trying to figure out, well, what are you going to be in this league? Even if it's not with the Kings, but are you going to be a guy that comes off the bench? Are you just going to be a Joe Harris and kind of just fade? Are you going to be able to evolve in your game? Who are you going to be in this league? Because just like every season, Chris, there are more dudes coming out. And I know Kevin Huerter has some good length on him, but if you aren't able to do what your calling card is, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And you were talking Tristan, and I know it's just summer league, but guys like Tristan da Silva just randomly popping up and balling out.
For sure.
So if I can find somebody that can defend and is only a percentage or 2% worse than you shooting the 3-point ball and can get to the rack and do different things, I'm sorry, man. I mean, you again. We've used this term with Kevin Huerter and a couple players on the team, DH, right? If your DH is not hitting in baseball, that's a waste of a spot in the lineup. That's a waste, okay? And you are more, hey, man, I know you've been raking in BP and batting practice. Well, we got to get somebody else in there because you're not giving us anything on defense. So why continue to ride with you? You're just much more replaceable. So when you are a specialist, we'll put it like that. When you are a specialist, and what you specialize in is not working, what are you going to do?
Yeah, 100%. And I think the difference this year, too, is the Kings have options, so they can go away. It's not that, last season we did kind of have to chill out in the Kevin Huerter pool for a while because there was, are we going to play Chris Duarte more? Are we going to?
And they tried.
And they tried. They definitely tried, and he never stepped up. And now we have Keon as an option. We have Malik, obviously, as an option. DeMar DeRozan can honestly eat into Kevin Huerter's minutes. If Devin Carter comes back, he can eat into his minutes. Colby Jones might get some run this year. So there's definitely more options this year where if things don't go in the direction that Kevin Huerter wants it to go, in the direction I think the Kings want it to go, at the very least, they can possibly skip off of it and move on to somebody else. But obviously, I think it's kind of like a bit like the Brandon Ayuk situation. I think things are best if Kevin Huerter is on the Kings, and I think things are best for the Kings if they can keep Kevin Huerter and get him back to the guy that we saw 2 years ago, because that guy was very, very useful. And even if he's, again, not at the same exact level that he was that season, having a guy like that coming off your bench or even just having him in your lineup in general, that's dangerous. You could really utilize that as a weapon. And again, with DeMar DeRozan, with so much attention going to be put on him, so much attention put on De'Aaron Fox, probably increased attention put on Malik Monk, and hopefully there's some attention on Keegan Murray too. I don't see why Kevin Huerter can't have a bounce back season. It really is just, to me, a matter of if his shoulder is going to heal in the way that we hope it does. And all indications definitely are that should be the case. So I'm mildly concerned about how his season goes, but for the most part, I believe, and that's really all that I have to go on, is just belief that Kevin Huerter is going to have a bounce back year.
You are more optimistic than pessimistic that he will get back.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if that bounce back isn't beam team level, just get to 38.
38 is what I'm
just get to 38% and shoot with confidence and be a threat.
Yeah, I don't want to see fear in his eyes. No. I saw a lot of fear in Kevin Huerter's eyes last year.
Coming up next, Bleacher Report gives a reason not to overlook each team in the NBA. We'll discuss what they had to say about the Kings and see if you agree or not. By the way, 279 saying, let's go light the beam. You can call me Murph. Love the show. My sons will appreciate it. Shout out to you, Murph, and your two boys. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.